Welcome and thank you for joining the Diamond Duo. We are here to illuminate the core of the feminine force. And tonight we thought we would talk about taking off our rose tinted glasses. Hi, Caroline. How are you tonight?
Great, fantastic, Lisa. Hi, everyone. And we're having a bit of fun today. Seeing that we're in festival season here in Ireland, everyone's going to the festivals and music concerts. And I was thinking about all the different ways we look at life, and we can look through different lenses. And how do we see life clearly? And often, like that, we're looking through lenses that aren't actually reality. When we take off the glasses, we can see things clearly as they are. And it's funny because sometimes people wear heavy dark sunglasses that are quite very cool, but they're a bit low and a bit, make you feel a bit gray when you look out through them. And they can be, how you see the world. And this is what you normally you feel like all the time. It's like you're this feeling that you wake up in the morning and you have this kind of grayness over you. But how do we actually not look at the dark? We have always like two different sides that we can look at life. We can look at the dark side, or we can look at the light side. And sometimes it's amazing to be able to see through, rose tinted, positive looking sight. Like, I mean, that would be me. I'm kind of very much glass half full, but also there's a side there where you're denying the dark side, and you're not looking at the side that that actually needs to be looked at when we're wearing our rose tinted glasses. So when we can kind of look at the dark side of what might be happening in our life that we're not too, you know, that we're not too comfortable with, which is usually facing up to, the reality of how we actually feel. When we take off the rose tinted glasses, we're kind of faced with, how do we actually feel about our lives, and how do we actually feel, how connected are we in our lives, and are we really happy with certain aspects of our life, or are we just trying to deny them you know so it's just really interesting, I think, sometimes to look at, can we see the dark side and see the bright side, and incorporate both aspects, and then we have a much better ability then to move forward and make conscious decisions. Because if we're not incorporating all the information about our life, then we're not really living the life in, and kind of being creative enough in the life that we can create something that's very true to our own essence as such. Because we're just, I suppose, maybe going, we're not using our full capacity, you know what I mean? So I think the work that you do, Lisa, is fantastic in the emotional work, because when we take off the rose tinted glasses and we start to look at the dark side of our life, it can be quite painful, and it can mean that we have to start working through a lot of issues that we have been turning our attention away from. So I think that is really the power that we can, I suppose, can change our lives, can really, bring that spark back into the possibility in our life. And like with the Rainbow Warrior book, I have the eye with all the different colors, because it's like, I think for me, when I started to do that, and I started to take all the veils off the eyes as such, and then I could, really see things clearly, and I could see how, when you're very clear in your sight in reality, then whole world of possibility opens up to you, because you can see, like, you can create anything. You really have the power in your decision making then going forward, and what you really would love to do, and what your gifts and talents are, and how you can bring that to the world once you've really kind of addressed the dark side as such, of those emotions and those aspects of yourself that you haven't wanted to look at. I don't know what your reflections on that, Lisa.
No, I totally agree, because I was thinking, like, even if they're very sunny, bright yellow glasses,
Yes.
you're still looking at your life through a filter.
Yeah.
And what I've discovered is that, yes, sometimes it can be a good way of not experiencing the things that don't feel so good, but also not all of me is showing up. And because I'm looking through a filter all the time, what I'm looking at is not the whole truth. So for me, like, because my first relationship was very much like that. I was very much seeing the good and really, positive and all of that sort of stuff. But there was a lot going on that I wasn't looking at. There was a lot in me that I wasn't looking at, and I wasn't even aware of, because I had these rose tinted glasses on. And actually, someone said to me once, "That's your problem. You see the good in everyone and everything." And I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting comment. But it's true. Sometimes it is a problem, because that means that you're not really questioning. You're just trusting. You're abandoning yourself and doing things without really going, how does this feel for me? Is this sort of in alignment with what I really want for myself? So there's a lot of things that happened to me when I took off my rose tinted glasses, and seeing myself clearly, even though there was stuff to work through, actually was so empowering, so much more of me here, because there's nothing in the way. There's nothing in the way that's even stopping the connection that I have with other people, because often when I'm wearing all of that, it's like there's a veil that gets in the way of my capacity to connect with other people and my capacity to connect with my own life. And I've also noticed that while we have on these filters, and sometimes these filters are actually because of our wounds. So we see through these filters, which have been created by our wounds. And when we're looking at life through those sorts of filters, really we can influence so much of even our past and our future and our present, because we're not looking at things accurately. And I had this realization the other day. I was talking to my daughter about looking back at the past. I was talking to her about my teenagehood, and I realized that so much of my teenage story was through this filter of the pain that I felt as a teenager.
Yeah.
And my capacity to actually take that off and go, you know what, actually I had a good time. I had a great time. Like, I had so much fun. But it was almost like every time I looked back, I was looking through this filter of how horrible it was to be a teenager and all the pain I went through. And I thought it's really tarnishing my past.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking through this filter. So if you think, even in terms of people that we know, people that we love, if we don't do the work on how we feel about them, then we're going to look at them through the filter of the pain we've experienced with them. And so we can never really see the true them that's turning up. And we really can't have a deeply connected relationship, because there's still all this stuff in the way.
Absolutely, that's so true. And like, the word lenses, like, because the same with the eye has a lens, and then a lens and glasses. It's so true. My God, because I feel like there's a shift you can make in yourself, because if you realize that you have the power to do that, you could either look through the dark glasses and see everything like, dark and gloomy, and you're kind of insular, you're keeping yourself in, and you're seeing like life in a kind of in a dark, overshadowed kind of lens. It affects everything, every relationship you have, and you're very selective about your friends. You're very selective about kind of maybe keeping in. You're not inviting in. So I suppose if you're doing that, you're not inviting in other possibilities into your life as such. You know what I mean? You're not inviting. You're closing yourself off from life. You're locking yourself away. So it's like, I love what you were saying about that, because like you were looking through those dark glasses, and then you chose then to see what was the light side, what was the bright side that I had in my teens. Oh my God!
And it was a choice.
Yeah,
it was a choice,
yeah,
because I
yeah.
actually just went, and even when I looked back at, the times that you feel alone and unsupported. So times in my life I look back at, I felt so unsupported. But when, like, even as a teenager, my story was, nobody understands me. I feel so unsupported. I'm so alone. But when I actually look back, taking off my glasses and look back, I think, oh my gosh, I had so much love around me, and I had so much support around me. I couldn't see it at the time, but it was there.
Yes.
And I can choose to look back and see that or not, because it actually was there. That is the truth of the situation. But I just was so not seeing that when I had my glasses on. So I chose to I choose to remember the fun times, because Otherwise, teenagehood is just like a horrible memory in my mind, which
Yeah.
is sort of really sad.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a light in the dark. So, like, obviously, things happened that you maybe weren't too happy about, but then you had the fun times as well. But what you learned through it. So, the way to incorporate the light,
Mm,
the highs and the lows, the light and the dark, and to know that you're learning. What have you learned through that? It's like the push and the pull all the time. But, really can, like, if we keep that narrative in our mind, how we are still looking through that perception of the dark glasses, if we're
mm,
always telling us that same narrative, but how you
yeah,
can shift the narrative to say, oh
mm,
my God, actually, the truth was, that I
yeah,
had people around me that loved me and that were there for me. And
mm,
I could have connected with and actually had all my best interests at heart. But maybe I didn't want to hear what they had to say, or I didn't, you know what I mean?
mm,
I didn't,
yeah,
I was so stuck in my ways or whatever. I look back and see that as well. And I think in my 20s more so that I kind of like, I put the hard hat on, kind of thing. I have
mm,
to do this. This is my responsibility. Everybody else can go have fun, but I've got to kind of, kind of strive and push my way through life. Like, we were talking about actually, I think yesterday we
mm,
were talking about all my friends went to Australia and stuff. I had traveled an awful lot. I lived in different countries for a number of years, but then everybody was heading off to Australia, and I was like, oh, I'm too busy. Like, I have to, I have to I have my career, for God's sake, it's okay for you. Like and it's kind of like, who did that? Like another way, you
yeah,
put that on yourself, So it's so
yeah,
funny how
yeah,
we, are from my past that I thought, yeah, you just adopt a role as such, and then you see your life through that kind of
mm,
thing. And it takes time to then when I look back now, I see, wow, like we do that to ourselves, but it's amazing how you
yeah.
can. I think in the moment now, the training is that you can shift. Like each day, if you wake up with that kind of with the dark glasses on, you can change them, even if you want to filter it up for a bit to get yourself
Filter
in a
up for a
good
bit.
mood.
Yeah,
Filter it up a bit, and then you can get on your way.
yeah. I think
you
that's
know.
great. And I think it's so true. In every moment, even now in the present moment, it's like we can choose what to look at, and our wounds often create the filter that's
Yeah.
there, the default filter, if
Mhm,
you like.
mhm,
So
mhm,
our awareness then can go, well, hang on a minute, I'm looking at this through my wounds,
mhm,
not the reality. Because the
mhm.
reality may be that there's a lot of people around that love you and that are supporting you. But if you're in your wound, you just can't see that. Your perception is a little bit faulty. So take off the glasses and have a look at reality.
Yeah, and actually, then eventually reality became technicolored for me like a rainbow. So it was
Yeah,
even better than the pink glasses. It was multicolored.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
technicolor. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. So there you are, everyone. Time to take off the rose tinted glasses.
yeah. Hope you enjoyed that. Bit of
Yeah,
fun.
have a lovely.
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
See
Thanks
you
for joining
Wednesday.
us.
Bye.
Bye.